Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of 1998 Represent. On this episode, we're taking a look at Is This Desire by PJ Harvey. This came out in 1998, of course. I wasn't super familiar with PJ Harvey aside from like one song from like a few years like before this album came out. But just researching for this project or this series, I saw this album came out in 1998, and I gave it a listen. I actually listened to it twice, and I was actually really enjoyed the album. So decided to do a video about that album. We got some notes here. We're gonna go through those, and we're gonna like go through the track list and things like that, like we do for the when we discuss albums. Let me get my notes here. There we go. So this is, again, Is This Desire by PJ Harvey. First released September 28th, 1998. This is her fourth studio album. And let's see. In the research for this, it came out that, let me see what the album was called. To Bring You My Love, I think was the previous album. I think that was like the second album or the third album from her, I think. Let me go here because we have something called Dance Hall. That's a collective album. So, To Bring You My Love is the third studio album by her. That's kind of the album that, like I said, came out in 1995, and it was kind of what kind of pushed her somewhat into the mainstream, at least in the U.S. I hadn't heard of her like before that, and I was like, the only song I was really familiar with from her is, I believe it's called Down by the Water. Let me make sure that's correct. Yeah, Down by the Water, because that's the one where it goes kind of like big fish, little fish, swimming in the water, come back here, man, give me my daughter. I remember that song was on like MTV quite often in 1995. I remember hearing it on the radio a bunch. So that's kind of how I knew at least a little bit about like who PJ Harvey was. Didn't really listen to any album, like full album of hers, until I listened to Is This Desire for this series. So I think she was definitely more popular in England initially, and then that album that came out before this one kind of pushed her into the mainstream, at least over here. Like I said, yeah, it was Down by the Water. Apparently, this was a kind of like a departure for her, like musically, like at least like instrumentally. Like apparently a lot of her other stuff is very guitar focused. This one is more scaled down. It's almost kind of like a few episodes ago I did Adore by the Smashing Pumpkins, and I feel it's almost kind of somewhat similar to that in at least like instrumentally it's like kind of scaled back. It's a little bit more subtle than I guess like some of her other music. Even just comparing it to the one song that I was familiar with, it's definitely like a lot of the songs on this album are very different. This album does also kind of cover a bunch of different like genres, so it's not just one genre, but it covers a bunch of them. So let's see. There's a quote I want to read here that I brought up. Let me go back to the thing I had my notes on, and it was from a 2004 article about the project. She says, and to the date, this is a 2004 interview, so this may not really be accurate anymore. But this, she was quoted as saying, "Again, working with Flood, again trying to find new ground, but a particularly difficult time in my life. So it was a very, very difficult album, or a very difficult record to make, and still one I find very difficult to listen to. But probably my favorite record that I've made because I had a lot of guts. I mean, I was making extremely difficult music, experimenting with techniques I hadn't used before, and not really caring what other people thought about it. I'm quite proud of that one." And that was like I said, an interview or kind of like an article from 2004. So kind of just like how I spoke to the things about different genres, how she was experimenting with other stuff, maybe like kind of like stepping outside her comfort zone and doing music a little bit differently, at least for this album. And like I said, even compared to like the stuff that I was familiar with, that this felt like a departure, and like I really liked the kind of scaled back kind of nature of it. Lately, I've been listening to a lot of more like slow. I don't want to say slow necessarily, but music where it's just very scaled back. Like I said, "Adored" by the Smashing Pumpkins is like that. This album is definitely like that. Just a lot more like soft music, like Folklore by Taylor Swift. I would say would fall into that kind of more scaled back nature. And like lately, I've found myself listening to more and more albums like this, and I've really enjoyed them. Let's see. Uh, got released to critical acclaim, so it got pretty good reviews. So Entertainment Weekly gave it like an A. The Guardian gave it a 4 out of 5. The LA Times gave it a 4 out of 4. Let's see. Pitchfork gave it an 8 out of 10. Q gave it a 4 out of 5. Rolling Stone gave it a 4 out of 5. And then the Village Voice gave it an A minus. So very, very well received critically. Even with just listening to the album once, I listened to it twice while getting ready for this video, and just after the first listen, I really liked it. It was very, even though like some of the lyrical content is a little rough, like because basically she was going through a very kind of like she said in that quote, a kind of rough time personally. I think it actually makes really good music. I spoke to that when I did the Smashing Pumpkins video as well, where the band was basically on the verge of breaking up at that point, and basically did shortly after. And even these rough times make for really good music. So I feel that kind of carries over into this album as well. There's characters in this album, so apparently, in my research for this, she was in a relationship with Nick Cave, I think a couple years before this, and apparently, like they broke up, and then they both were kind of trading like barbs back and forth musically, like in albums. And one thing I was reading was saying that like she didn't directly like reference him in the music or herself. It was all through the eyes of a bunch of different characters that are presented in these songs, and these characters are kind of like the embodiment of what was going on in her like personal life. So there is, let me see here. The characters in this album are Elise, Catherine, Angeline, Joy, Leah, and Dawn, and each of those characters are featured in various songs from her in this album, and it's a very interesting way to kind of like tell. I don't want to say tell a story because it's actually real, but basically like express stuff through these other characters. I had recently went to see the Taylor Swift Eras film, and I think Folklore was written in a similar way, where like during the Folklore set she had mentioned um, like a lot of like writing these characters and the songs being the characters, and how kind of like this is kind of very similar to that. There was something in here I brought up from You Discover Music. Um, was this the yes? I said basically like Nick Cave was being more literal in his kind of like in the songs that he was writing about her, but she had channeled that stuff into various characters. And again, those the quote from this You Discover Music article is she heaped the pain and disappointment onto a procession of female characters who are Elise, Catherine, Angeline, Joy, Leah, and Dawn, and the stories are what kind of shape this album. I'll leave a link in the description to check that article out. That's kind of one of the articles I was using for this research. Like I said, back and forth musically, and let's go ahead and in the last bit here take a look at the track list for this album. So it comes in at about 40 minutes. It's kind of a short list. It's not terribly long. We have 40 minutes, 12 tracks. Track 1 is Angeline. Track 2 is The Sky Lit Up. Track 3 is The Wind. Track 4 is My Beautiful Leah. Track 5 is A Perfect Day Elise. Track 6 is Catherine. Track 7 is Electric Light. Track 8 is The Garden. Track 9 is Joy. Track 10 is The River. Track 11 is No Girl So Sweet. And track 12 is This Desire. And I like that it actually has the title, the album cover, and the song Is This Desire it's actually asking the question, is this desire? Like, is it um, like I just like that it's posing that question because a lot of the lyrical content, like I said, going back and forth between these characters is kind of like, is this what desire or love is? That kind of thing. That's at least what I took from it. But I do like that it basically the very last song, and even I think the very last lyric in the very last song is this desire, and then it just like kind of like asks that question, and I think it might leave it up to it might be up to like listener like interpretation of what actually that means. I think it's pretty cool. Like I said, this was the first time I had heard this album. Like I've heard of PJ Harvey before, but I hadn't really ever like done like a deep dive on her music. And I'm definitely considering going back through and listening to some of her other stuff now. But this album, I think, is out of the stuff that I've heard. I've only heard like some songs off one album and this one. And this album is excellent. I would highly recommend checking it out. Like I said, it's a little more apparently a little more toned down, at least like instrumentally, than some of her other stuff. But it's just an excellent album overall. I listened to it on Apple Music earlier in the week. Like one day I listened to it, and then I listened to it again like the following day. Um, Excellent album. I don't know what I would exactly rate it. It's probably like if I would say like a 4 out of 5, probably 4.5 out of 5 maybe. It's very very good. I would definitely recommend checking it out. But I think that is going to do it for this video. We'll be back again in a few days. We'll probably be doing another movie. I don't know exactly what other movies are streaming, but I'll definitely try to get something up, either a movie or a TV show or something like that. But that's going to do it for now. So remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe. We'll see you again next time. Thanks again for watching. Take care and have a good one. See ya.